Andrea and Nicolas here with 7 Adelaide's afternoon news. Making news this hour, the truckie at the centre of the deadly outback train derailment granted bail. Utterly devastated, the parents of Melissa Hoskins release a statement following her shock death. A bonus repair job has ended in a mechanic's workshop being destroyed by fire. Aussie researchers uncover a breakthrough treatment for people with diabetes. And a star cricketer's baggy green pinched on the eve of his final test.
Live from Adelaide, 7 News starts now.
Good afternoon. First to breaking news, and a truckie accused of killing 2 Port Augusta train drivers in a deadly derailment has just been granted bail. 75-year-old Kevin Pearson has spent the past 2 nights in the cells at the Port Pirie Police Station, almost 3,000 kilometres away from his home in Queensland. The long-haul driver for the transport company Blenners is accused of driving dangerously on Sunday morning on the Barrier Highway, causing carnage at a signed railway crossing at Bindara near Broken Hill. The impact with the Pacific National Freight train killed its 2 drivers, 57-year-old Kevin Baker and 48-year-old Mick Warren. We'll have more details on Pearson's court appearance in our next bulletin at 6. The grieving parents of champion cyclist Melissa Hoskins have broken their silence after her tragic death at the weekend. They say they're utterly devastated and still trying to process the mother of 2's death. Not only have we lost a daughter and sister, her children have lost their mum, a freewheeling spirit, a giver with a big heart, patience and zest for life. She was the rock of their life and ours. We need to honour her memory so they can grow up knowing who she was, what she stood for. The 32-year-old former world champion died after allegedly being run over by her husband, Rowan Dennis, near their Medindi home on Saturday. A repair job for a little extra cash has cost a Seaton bike mechanic his workshop. As Kimberly Pratt reports, the retiree was welding when spot fires ignited quickly, engulfing the shed.
It was just before midnight. Fire crews raced to this bike repair shop on Tapley's Hill Road at Seaton, finding the workshop ablaze. Crews managed to rescue the owner, John Kalea, treating him on the road as smoke continued to billow from his family business. The 68-year-old retired bike mechanic was doing some work on a scooter, hoping to sell it for some extra cash when his welder ignited several spot fires in the shed.
I opened the helmet up and everything, spot fires everywhere all around me. I had 2 fuel tanks there and I rolled them out because I was on fire. I was a bit scared they were going to blow. It was so quick, even I couldn't believe it.
Due to the materials, chemicals and petrol in the workshop, the flames quickly spread. Even firefighters were amazed the man got out with just a few minor burns to his hands.
You're not going to last long in a fire like that if you don't have any breathing, respiratory protection.
Police and fire crews spent the morning confirming the cause, which left a damage bill of $80,000. Firefighters are reminding people to follow safety advice when welding.
Use the safety screens when you're welding. Make sure that you don't have combustible materials in close proximity.
And I've got fire extinguishers all around this driveway for working on cars, but I didn't have any in there. Wow, yeah, it just couldn't stop it.
John is insured but says the clean-up will likely take weeks.
The state's opposition's demanding a review into hospital ramping is fast-tracked. The probe, announced by the government in early December, is investigating claims ambulance patients are being treated ahead of those inside the emergency department to cut ramping hours. The review has no firm deadline, but the Health Minister initially hoped it would be finished by Christmas.
Until this investigation is complete, how can South Australians have confidence that people aren't being treated out of priority order?
The government says the review will be finalised in the coming weeks and it doesn't want to rush the investigation. An SA woman bitten on the face by a shark 2 months ago is making a remarkable recovery. Bridget O'Shaughnessy's partner posted a photo on social media of the pair and their 2 dogs, wishing everyone a Merry Christmas. The environmental consultant was freediving at Port Noarlunga when she was bitten on the face by a shark. Friends and family were quick to respond, saying the couple's looking happy and well. To breaking news now, and we warn these pictures are confronting. They show an assassination attempt on South Korea's opposition leader this afternoon in Busan. Lee Jae-myung had just held a press conference and was surrounded by media. His attacker had asked for an autograph before the politician was stabbed in the neck. Bystanders wrestled the would-be assassin to the ground before police arrived and arrested him. Mr. Lee survived and was rushed to hospital bleeding but conscious. Explosive new information has revealed a pilot at the centre of the SeaWorld helicopter disaster had cocaine in his system. The report released on the anniversary of the crash also found some seatbelts weren't fitted correctly. Danielle Bowen has more.
It was 1 year ago today when two SeaWorld helicopters collided mid-air, killing 4 people.
And after months of investigations by the Australian Transport Safety Bureau, a new report released today exposed some shocking new facts, including the discovery of trace levels of cocaine in the body of pilot Ashley Jenkinson, who died in the crash. The report says the levels were low and may have been in his system for days.
When you're a pilot, there should be no trace.
Other findings reveal seatbelts weren't fitted properly in both aircrafts, but this did not contribute to the loss of lives because the passengers wouldn't have been expected to survive the impact. Today, SeaWorld helicopters have grounded all scenic flights to pay respects to the 4 victims and their families. Flowers have been laid at Broadwater Parklands to commemorate the anniversary. The investigation into the helicopter tragedy is ongoing.
The Australian Transport Safety Bureau plans to release its final report later this year.
At least 30 people have died after a series of earthquakes struck Japan on New Year's Day. The initial quake had a magnitude of 7.6. It sparked fires and ripped apart homes near the epicentre on Japan's western coast. It also prompted a tsunami warning, which was later withdrawn. Australian tourists were caught up in the ensuing chaos.
The earthquake, it was quite strong. The whole of Japan is in alert, especially the coastal area from Toyama all the way to the North Island of Hokkaido.
A frantic search is now underway for survivors trapped under the rubble of collapsed buildings. As Jacqueline Robson reports, the United States has offered assistance.
Well, President Joe Biden says his administration has been in contact with Japanese officials, with the US ready to provide assistance that's necessary in this unfolding disaster. The death toll is only expected to rise. The 7.6 tremor hit in the afternoon on New Year's Day, a popular holiday for the Japanese, with tsunami warnings continuing to roll through. There is widespread damage, but the extent of it is still being assessed. The Japanese Prime Minister Fumio Kishida dispatched the military to assist, but getting to these areas is difficult, with roads buckled, highways and the airport runway torn apart. Essential supplies like food, water, blankets and fuel are on their way to the impact zone, which is having to be brought in by boat given the damage to transport links. Power is out to around 33,000 homes. Around 100,000 people were told to flee last night, with a tsunami warning that has since been downgraded. The Nuclear Regulation Authority says there has been no irregularities at nuclear plants. Seismologists say the next danger is aftershocks, which can last days and even months.
There's going to be a lot of local shaking in the area right above where the fault zone ruptured. And in cases like this, you're going to have that much shaking and damage, and then later aftershocks could cause more damage.
Japan's Prime Minister will lead the disaster coordination team as a new day brings fresh developments on this unfolding situation.
Firefighters are battling a huge blaze in Melbourne's west. It broke out in a pile of rubbish at a scrap metal factory. Black plumes have spread across parts of the city and people are being advised to steer clear of the area. Defence experts fear another Trump presidency could torpedo our AUKUS nuclear submarine deal. Senior advisors aligned with Trump have criticised the $370 billion arrangement, saying the United States does not have enough boats to supply Australia. Josh Martin reports.
The US election will take place in November this year, and Donald Trump is leading Joe Biden in the polls. There are growing fears a return of Mr. Trump to the White House could scuttle the AUKUS submarine deal.
I think he's entirely transactional as a leader, and if he thinks it's bad value for America, he won't care what previous commitments were made.
Top US Conservative defence advisors have questioned whether the United States has enough boats to supply Australia. Elbridge Colby labelling the deal crazy.
I think we should take this with a grain of salt at this point of time.
From the Prime Minister to the Deputy Prime Minister down, there's been very strong engagement between Australia, the US and the UK to ensure that these AUKUS arrangements are durable.
Legislation has passed US Congress allowing Washington to sell 3 Virginia-class boats to Canberra, but it has a clause allowing a future president or Congress to stop the sale if it is not in the United States' national interest. Australian defence experts say the Albanese government is not doing enough to keep up our end of the deal. A new East Coast submarine base has been slated for Brisbane, Newcastle or Port Kembla, but a final decision has been pushed back to 2030.
We're taking things from them and not contributing anything.
Australia is leaning on our closest ally for the submarine deal as domestic and international politics becomes increasingly uncertain.
Shocking security visions emerged of a crash in Sydney which landed a woman in hospital. A van careered into a shop, trapping her, bystanders then clambering to free her from the wreck. Serena Andrea has the details.
Well, a man has faced court today accused of driving a van which careered off Crescent Road in Homebush West, ploughing into the Pyramid Spice store. A woman was collected and dragged along the way, a pedestrian who was on her way to Temple.
Oh, she's all right. She's okay? He's all right. Don't close the door.
The 27-year-old victim was pinned inside the store for some time. She was conscious the whole time and in pain. Siva, who runs a local convenience store, heard the bang and was among the first people who rushed in to help.
She said for that brother, I don't want to die, so I want to see my mom. She keeps saying more than 10 minutes, so that's why she keeps saying, brother, I don't want to die. Please, getting out for me.
She was eventually freed by emergency crews suffering serious injuries. She was taken to Westmead Hospital. Police say 52-year-old Song Lee, the alleged driver, walked away from the scene without even trying to help.
2 hours I've been there. I haven't seen for the driver.
The damage to the shop was also extensive.
I couldn't sleep last night. I'm thinking, how am I going to sort it out, these whole things?
Song Lee was later arrested nearby and police allege he was under the influence.
Heavy rain is drenching Queensland's already saturated southeast, causing flash flooding, inundating homes and leaving thousands without power. Ned Baum has the latest.
Good afternoon. Well, scenes like this have become quite commonplace across the southeast over the past 48 hours. Flooded roads and vehicles attempting to make their way through those flooded waters to no avail after another overnight deluge with rain continuing into today. Now, we've been warned to expect totals of up to 350 millimetres in some areas. The Bureau of Meteorology warning that the risk for flash flooding is still real throughout the day from areas of the Gold Coast all the way up through Logan into Brisbane, Sunshine Coast, even all the way up to Wide Bay. The Queensland government has requested help from the Defence Force, who will be providing around 50 personnel, including heavy vehicles, to help with the clean-up efforts. Of course, those clean-up efforts continuing from the storms that wreaked havoc on the Gold Coast a little more than a week ago. Now, they are expected to arrive to help with clean-up efforts on Thursday. We recorded upwards of 250 millimetres of rain in the hinterland of the Gold Coast last night, and that has continued.
State Emergency Services received over 700 calls in the last 24-hour period, which accumulated now since Christmas is over 4,800 calls, so a very significant volume.
It's hoped that the rain will ease, but those warnings are still in place into tomorrow morning, so of course everybody is being urged right now to heed those warnings and of course stay out of the water.
And northern New South Wales is also on alert for flash flooding, with some residents now isolated for hours. Angelique Opie reports.
Dozens of specialist crews have been sent up here to northern New South Wales from Sydney on standby for any flood rescues and unfolding emergencies. SES crews have responded to 115 incidents overnight, 28 flood rescues.
The northern rivers and certainly had their fair share of flooding in the past few years, so completely understandable that when we look at some weather events that people do become anxious.
Residents in Tumbulgum were cut off for hours overnight, no way in or out as the Tweed River swell up.
It was frightening, but no one got hurt.
6 people were almost caught in floodwaters near Talgum camping ground. 3 caravans washed away.
The advice we give to people is that certainly in high intense rain periods is not to camp.
Hectares of land in Murwillumbah, including the local golf course, showgrounds and multiple parks, are right now underwater.
Knowing I've lived through a lot of floods here, yeah, we're definitely going to flood because it's just too heavy.
Authorities will be keeping a watchful eye on low-lying areas and towns along the Tweed, Wilsons and Richmond rivers, with more rainfall on the way. The message is to stay away from floodwaters and check the SES website for updates.
Aussie cricketer David Warner has made a plea for the return of his baggy green, which was stolen from inside his luggage as it was freighted to Sydney. It comes ahead of his final test match at the SCG.
Unfortunately, someone has taken my backpack out of my actual luggage, which had my backpack and my girl's presents in there. Inside this backpack was my baggy greens. That's sentimental to me. It's something that I would love to have back in my hands walking out.
Warner says he and the team have gone through security footage but haven't been able to track down the culprit. A fire in Adelaide's northwest has led police to a hydroponic setup. That's stories after the break. Plus a surge in ticket scalping ahead of Taylor Swift's massive Aussie shows. A major medical breakthrough discovered by local researchers, how it could change lives. A South Aussie arts hub to receive an important upgrade. And excitement builds as Princess Mary prepares for her new royal role. Welcome back. You're watching 7's Afternoon News. It's been a lovely sunny day across the suburbs, perfect for soaking up the sun and grabbing a bite to eat at the beach. We haven't quite hit the forecast top of 30 degrees. Casey Treloar will have more on the weather a little later. Firefighters have uncovered equipment used for growing cannabis while battling a blaze at Woodville South. Crews arrived just after 10 last night and found smoke issuing from an apartment on the ground floor. 2 neighbouring properties were evacuated, but firefighters managed to stop the flames from spreading to adjoining homes. The accidental fire caused about $100,000 worth of damage. Police say the hydroponic setup was not being used to grow cannabis at the time. There's been a surge in ticket scalpers trying to rip off Taylor Swift fans ahead of her sold-out shows at the MCG next month. Ainsley Koch reports.
Victorian inspectors have removed at least 1,000 dodgy tickets from websites ahead of Taylor Swift's sold-out Eras tour here at the MCG. In some cases, fans are being slugged up to 483% above market value by scammers. A single ticket has reportedly been advertised online for more than $2,000.
No parent should be asked to spend, literally thousands of dollars on a ticket that is normally priced at a few $100.
Consumer experts are warning against buying tickets from sites other than Ticketek, the only licensed reseller for the event. Fans can list tickets for sale on the website, but only for 10% more than their original sale price.
If the markup on the ticket is more than 10%, in most states in Australia, that means that the ticket is not being sold legally.
In June, the state government declared the 3 Melbourne concerts a major event, with hefty penalties in place to stop consumers from being ripped off.
We're already working very closely with sites including eBay and Gumtree to remove tickets that are being on-sold above the 10% threshold.
Penalties can range from $925 to more than $550,000.
And anyone that does not obey those warnings and tries to come back for a second or third time on any of these sites selling tickets will feel the full force of the law.
The pop star is set to beat Ed Sheeran's previous Australian concert record, with more than 250,000 fans expected here across 3 nights from February 16.
A train has derailed and caught fire in San Francisco. At least 9 people were injured when the front 2 carriages careered off the track. Locals reported hearing loud pops before smoke began billowing from the carriages. It's unclear what caused the crash. Hollywood actor Jeremy Renner has given an update on his recovery from a snowplow accident which almost killed him.
You have faced just an unbelievable battle over this last year. What got you through? What do you tell people?
I think it's. I'm just so blessed that I had so many things to live for, brother. You know, it's. I have a giant family. I have a 10-year-old daughter.
He's marking 1 year since the accident, which left him in intensive care for weeks, nursing more than 30 broken bones. And India has launched a rocket into space as part of a mission to study black holes.
Bright morning of the New Year's Day made brighter by a majestic liftoff.
The satellite has a lifespan of 5 years and will spend it photographing black holes and other celestial phenomenon to help us better understand what produces them. It's only the 2nd mission of its kind. Tom's here now for a look at what's coming up in sport.
Well, Andrea, we know that David Warner's looking for his baggy greens, but his teammates are tipping a big score for the retiring opener in his final test at home in Sydney. We'll hear from skipper Pat Cummins about that. And Liverpool extends its lead at the top of the Premier League. All the highlights from Mo Salah's stunning display. That's all coming up a little later.
Sounds good. Thank you very much, Tom. And the Festival Centre is set for a multi-million-dollar facelift. After the break, we reveal the new features that'll make it safer for patrons. Plus, a northern suburbs man reported for stealing a beloved painting from a hospital. Experts predict the end of the war in Gaza is potentially more than a year away. Aussie researchers uncover a possible cure for chronic diabetes. And a runaway pig leads police on a bizarre chase in the US.
As the day breaks,
the news breaks on Sunrise.
The unfolding fire emergency. Breaking news, the Middle East is at flashpoint.
Start with what's unfolding.
The winds have picked up massively.
Start with the team Australia trusts.
One of the biggest issues that's facing the country at the moment.
Start with Sunrise.
The Adelaide Festival Centre is set to undergo a $35 million facelift. The upgrade will improve accessibility to the Western Plaza side as well as update the centre's fire and safety system. It follows a previous $90 million Festival Plaza development which was only completed in 2021.
In my view, it probably should have been done at that point in time, but we're here now and we're doing the fire compliance work that needs to be done, and with that we're also taking the opportunity to make some other improvements that have been in the pipeline for quite some time.
Works won't begin for another year. Australian researchers have made a major breakthrough discovering a potential world-first cure for diabetes. The groundbreaking therapy has been hailed as serendipitous. Sarah Jane Bell has more.
The scientists here are another step closer towards finding a cure for type 1 diabetes by essentially rewiring or regenerating insulin production in those living with the disease. Now, the treatment would essentially modify the disease so that people living with diabetes would no longer be reliant on round-the-clock insulin injections. The research was discovered here at the Baker Heart and Diabetes Institute.
In the simplest of terms, we are repairing the damaged pancreas of individuals that are living with diabetes. And what we've simply done is harness stem cells that naturally are present in the damaged pancreas and stimulated them and instructed them to make insulin again.
It means that we now understand the mechanism that regulates insulin production and the potential to actually regenerate life-saving beta cells.
The research has identified 2 drugs that can essentially stimulate insulin production in pancreatic cells that are destroyed with diabetes, and the drugs are already approved in the USA to treat rare cancers. So essentially a life-changing breakthrough for those living with diabetes here in Australia.
The fighting in Israel and Gaza has continued into the new year with no end in sight. Hamas fired rockets into Tel Aviv overnight as Israel's ground invasion rolls on. The country's army says it's preparing for a protracted conflict after 3 months of bloodshed. Experts predict the war could last for the entire year. A mother of 2 has woken up in a US hospital with both her legs amputated just weeks after she was diagnosed with a kidney stone. The stone turned septic and doctors had to act fast to save her life while she was heavily sedated.
Lost my legs from the knees down bilaterally, and I'm going to lose my arms probably from my elbows down. I just said, these are the cards that I've been dealt. This is the hand that I'm going to play.
Her condition is exceedingly rare and she says she feels lucky to be alive. A GoFundMe campaign has raised more than $100,000 for her treatment and recovery. And he's one of the most recognisable cartoon characters in the world, and now one of the earliest incarnations of Mickey Mouse has entered the public domain. For the first time in 95 years, the good-humoured rodent no longer solely belongs to the Walt Disney Company after his copyright lapsed. More modern versions of Mickey are fully covered by copyright, and the company has vowed to defend them. Time to get a quick check of the weather now with Casey, who joins us poolside. Casey, the sun has finally come out.
Finally, Andrea, today feels like the first real day of summer. It is the perfect combination of blue skies, light winds and plenty of warm air. It has seen hundreds of families flock here to the Burnside pool in what staff say is the first real busy day of the season. The kids are having a blast in the water while many parents are choosing to relax in the shade. But the advice is to make the most of this sunshine. We've got some grey skies on the way. It's set to get pretty humid too, with a chance for some thunderstorms later in the week. I'll be back with a look at tomorrow's forecast shortly. Andrea?
Thank you, Casey. The search is on for a beloved bird painting stolen from the Lal McEwen Hospital after the break. Where's Wally the galah? Plus, an Aussie princess prepares to become the Queen of Denmark. And a speedy swine tries to escape from police at a Macca's drive-thru. Welcome back. You're watching Adelaide's only 4 o'clock news. After some cooler summer days, it's been a day of sunny beach weather. Plenty of South Aussies going for a dip at Henley. Casey will be back with more on the weather later in the bulletin. Now let's check in with Mike on what's coming up at 6.
Thanks, Andrea. Tonight, family members of former world champion cyclist Melissa Hoskins have broken their silence. The full context of their emotional words is revealed at 6. It's hard to imagine their lives will ever be the same, and they want the public to know. More details on the court appearance of the truckie charged with the deaths of 2 train drivers. He's now on bail, so what are the conditions on him? And more on that Missy bagging green, the Aussie cap stolen from David Warner. Is an extraordinary story. The timing couldn't be worse on the eve of his last Test appearance. Andrea, it's just not cricket.
It's certainly not. I hope it turns up, Mike.
So do I.
Thank you. Excitement is building in Denmark, with the country on the cusp of a new royal reign as Queen Margrethe prepares to stand aside. Crown Princess Mary has made her first public appearance since the announcement. Hugh Whitfeld has more.
The Crown Prince and Crown Princess looking every bit the King and Queen that they will be in less than 2 weeks, arriving here at the Amalienborg Palace in Copenhagen for the Queen's annual New Year's banquet. It is a tradition that stretches back centuries here in Denmark, but this country is about to tread through some new ground. Not since the 12th century has a Danish monarch abdicated, and that is of course what Queen Margrethe did in the last 24 hours, paving the way for her son, Crown Prince Frederik, and his wife to be the new King and Queen. They'll be proclaimed over at Christiansborg Palace on January 14, and many of the Danes Queens here that we've spoken to are very excited about the prospect of an Australian Queen reigning over Denmark. They see Mary as Frederick's not-so-secret weapon.
She started out being the neighbour's daughter from Tasmania coming to Denmark, and everyone loved her in an instant. Because of that, I think. We needed some down-to-earth normality, and she really brought that. And over the years, she developed. She's now... She's becoming a queen.
So Margareta continuing her royal duties here at Amalienborg for the next 2 weeks or so ahead of her formal abdication. No one's really sure what her life will look like going forward. She will, though, likely enjoy some quiet time after experiencing health troubles.
Comedian Dave Hughes has been rushed to hospital after a surfing accident on the Gold Coast. The 53-year-old revealed on Instagram that he'd suffered a dislocated shoulder and nerve damage. He's described the pain as the worst he's ever experienced, but thanked his wife and doctors for taking good care of him. A Salisbury Heights man has been reported for stealing a beloved painting from the Lyle Max cardiology unit. Staff were devastated when Mally the Galah went missing from the ward on Thursday afternoon. Police have since been able to track down a 38-year-old man captured on security video strapping the painting to the roof of his car before driving off. But where Wally is remains a mystery. His creator, a former South Australian artist, is appealing for his safe return. Cops in the US needed to be called to rein in a rowdy fugitive. Officers were on the scene after a pig was spotted causing havoc at a Macca's drive-through when it broke free from its enclosure, which was being towed behind a ute. The wild hog was eventually brought to justice and returned to his owner. Local police took the incident in good stride, saying in the end the trooper and pig seemed to abhor each other. On that note, time for sport. And Tom, less than ideal preparation for Warner's farewell.
Yeah, certainly. So David Warner, he's lost his baggy green, obviously hopes he can find it, and it is his final test match. We'll cross to the SCG for the latest with Pat Cummins, that's the skipper. Also coming up, Aussie Alex de Minaur claims a big scalp at the United Cup, setting up a potential quarter-final date with Novak Djokovic. And wild scenes at the Darts World Championships as a 16-year-old's fairy tale run continues.
He's triumphed with the Aussies across the world and stars for our strikers. Now, Adelaide's Alex Carey reports to you on 7 News.
I'll take you inside the summer of cricket on 7 News.
Alex Carey takes the catch. Inside the Big Bash, inside the tests, Alex Carey, exclusive to 7 News.
Hello again. David Warner's baggy green may have been stolen, but if Pat Cummins has his way, the retiring opener will steal the show in his final test match in Sydney. And the Aussie captain may have a few unexpected tactics to make it happen.
Yes, all is in readiness for the pink test tomorrow here at the SCG. The captain got a good look at the wicket today. Most of the batting tragics turned up for an optional training session. Not among them, Dave Warner, but in his final test, the captain is hoping for a fairy tale finish.
100, maybe a leg spinner maybe to take the last wicket of the game or something. Out of the rough. Well, I only just thought of it. I think just a fantastic turnout here, which I'm sure it will be right behind him, and if he could score some runs and go off in style.
Now he's polarised opinions, Dave Warner, but for the last decade he's been the backbone of this team.
2 50-over World Cups, 1 T20 World Cup, and all those campaigns he was front and centre, and a big reason for it. And then playing over 100 Test matches puts him in an elite category in basically all 3 formats.
And the pink test means a lot to Pat Cummins, having lost his mother to cancer.
Yeah, the pink test has always going to have a special heart and a special place in the heart of our family, and this year even more so. But got a couple of aunties that always volunteer each year.
Now the SCG pink test has been interrupted by rain 6 of the last 7 times it's been staged. Tomorrow's forecast though, fine.
Good to hear. The Sydney Thunder, meanwhile, at bottom of the BBL table after a 7-wicket defeat to the Hobart Hurricanes. Chasing 150, Ben McDermott scored a not-out half-century to steer Hobart to its 2nd win of the season.
Where's the shield? Wow.
That was straight back at the umpire.
Brisbane superfan Cameron Smith didn't get to see a ball bowled in last night's clash between the Heat and Sixers due to heavy rain. You can tune into 7 tonight, though, to watch the Melbourne derby between the Stars and Renegades right after our news at 6. Well, Australia's advanced through to the quarterfinals of the United Cup thanks to a 2-1 victory over the US. Alex de Minaur dominated top 10 ranked player Taylor Fritz in straight sets to begin the tie.
It's been a demolition from de Minaur. Such an impressive display.
Isla Tomiljanovic lost her women's singles match 7-6, 6-3 before mixed doubles stars Matthew Ebden and Storm Hunter thrashed the Americans in straight sets to seal the victory.
He left absolutely everything out there. Unbelievable performances in both the singles matches and how the mix went as well. So, it bodes well for hopefully Wednesday night.
Australia is likely to play Novak Djokovic's Serbia in tomorrow night's quarterfinals. Well, it's probably Sir Andy Murray's last Australian summer of tennis, and it started with a first-round defeat to Grigor Dimitrov at the Brisbane International last night. Aussie Daria Saville thrashed Ukrainian Diana Yastremska.
Simply sublime from Saville as she sails into the second round.
Danish star Holger Rune defeated Max Purcell 2-1 to advance. Well, Liverpool's 3 points clear at the top of the Premier League after defeating Newcastle United 4-2 this morning. Despite missing a first-half penalty, Egyptian superstar Mo Salah dominated for Liverpool. Salah played pivotal roles in all 4 of the second-half goals, including a sublime assist to substitute Cody Gakpo.
Salah, Gakpo, goal!
Salah sealed the game with an 86th minute penalty, but now leaves for national duty for Egypt for up to a month. And the fairy tale run of 16-year-old British darts player Luke Littler continues. He's now become the youngest ever player to reach the semi-finals at the World Championships.
There is no sign of this teenage dream coming to an end. Luke Littler sweeps aside another brilliant darts player with his own...
With that reaction, it seems the whole nation is on his side as he plays for a spot in the decider. That's a remarkable achievement at just 16, although he may look a little older, probably more facial hair than most men in this newsroom, I reckon.
He's been eating his Wheaties, I think, Tom, definitely. Thank you for that. It's been a lovely hot summer's day across the city and suburbs. Casey Treloar will have the latest on the weather after the break.
This summer, when the big news happens, turn to 7.
Right across the holiday season.
It's going to be a Christmas we won't forget, that's for sure. This can all be replaced, but lives can't, so we're very blessed.
7 News will bring you the news when it matters.
It's the news more Australians watch.
That's why if it's breaking, you'll see it here on 7.
I heard the dog bit him, which is good.
Be first to know with 7 News.
Good afternoon, it's Bethany Hisker-Hill from the Freedom Traffic Centre. Look out for a hole in the road in Seacliff Park on Seacombe Road near Brighton Road, causing a bit of a hazard there at the moment. And in Mount Osman, you'll find some works on Mount Barker Road near Gill Terrace affecting both directions, so take care through there. Absolutely everything is on sale at Freedom. Get huge savings store-wide on all sofas, furniture, mattresses, outdoor and homewares. Hurry, sale on now, only at Freedom. That's the latest Adelaide traffic. Now back to you, Andrea.
Thanks, Bethany. Time for the weather now. And Casey, it's finally the perfect day to hit the pool.
Andrea, the staff here say today is by far the busiest day of the season, and it's not hard to see why, with the picture-perfect blue skies, light winds and temperatures sitting in the high 20s all afternoon. Now, our forecast top today was 30 degrees. We didn't quite get there, instead hitting a top of 28.5 a short time ago, following an overnight low of 17. And we are still sitting around that 28-degree mark now. Recent torrential rainfall continues to wreak havoc over southeast Queensland, with rain now hitting parts of Brisbane this afternoon. Showers have just started picking up around Melbourne in the last hour, with severe thunderstorms kicking in over central Victoria. Now on the charts, we've still got 2 systems producing low pressure troughs either side of the state, and that's causing some wet and stormy conditions about our border districts, also creating plenty of humid air across the state. Now, around the state tomorrow, looking at some thunderstorm activity around western parts. Juna is in for a shower or two as well, with a top of 25, partly cloudy and 30 for Port Augusta. You'd be hard pressed to find any sunshine further south, with plenty of cloud building, a top of 32 for Port Pirie, partly cloudy and 35 for Renmark, 28 for Clare and Kadina, 25 for Murray Bridge, a shower or two, and 22 for Port Lincoln. 20 is the top for Victor Harbour, possible shower and 30 for Narracourt, and a cloudy 27 for Mount Gambier. Strong winds are forecast about most coastal districts. A heatwave warning remains in place for parts of the northeast pastoral, while a severe thunderstorm warning for damaging winds has just been issued for parts of the northwest pastoral district. Grey days in store for the city tomorrow, with plenty of cloud cover. It'll start to get a bit humid too, heading for a top of 27. Then some windy and potentially stormy conditions are due later in the week. Andrea?
Thank you, Casey. We'll have to make the most of this heat. And that's all from 7 Adelaide's afternoon news team. Mike Smithson will have our next bulletin at 6 o'clock. Bye for now.